And Phil, could you please do the opening karakia, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see Pink in the room today. Start with karakia. Whakataka taho ki te uru, whakataka taho ki te tonga, kia makina kina ki uta, kia mataratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te atukura, hei tio, hei huka, hei ho hu, ti hei mauri ora.
Thanks, Phil. Now we'll move to, and online we've got Andy Baker. So in terms of apologies, Brooke. We've got Maxine and Sarah was going to attend, but she's also an apology as the alternate. Liz.
Yes, I just wanted to know I'll be leaving for a funeral, so an early departure of 11 o'clock, but Roger Gordon will take my place as my alternate.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, we've got those apologies before us. There's nothing further. I'm happy to move those. Someone to second. Thanks, Angela O. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Confirmation of the agenda, and we have that before us. Thanks. Moved by Chair Pamela, seconded by Angela. There's no discussion on that. I shall put that. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. And item 4, disclosures of interest. Are there any matters on the agenda that members wish to disclose? Okay, there are not. Thank you. We'll move to 5.1. That's the health and safety statement, and we'll take that as read. And Anthony, given this is your first formal meeting, I'm taking it that you've read that statement, and that's on the agenda for each meeting as a reminder. Okay, there's nothing further. We'll move to item 6.1, and that's the confirmation of our last meeting minutes on the 21st of February. I'm happy to move receipt of those. Do I have a seconder for those? Thanks, Liz. Are there any matters requiring amendment or clarification on those minutes? Okay, if there's nothing, I'll put the receipt of those Future-Proof Public Transport Subcommittee meeting minutes for the 21st of February. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. And we also have for information at 6.1 minutes of the Regional Transport Committee meeting. And that's moved by, to receive those, moved by Angela, seconded by Eugene. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So now we will move to item 7.1, and that's the Director's report. I just wanted to, so I find it, pick up a matter, and this relates to, and I'll hand over to Phil in a moment, but I felt I needed to highlight the item on the agenda, which is the significance of regional rating for PT. And just reiterating to members that this matter is going through the Regional Council annual plan process. And I think the council are meeting on Monday. The agenda has gone out on all of this. So I think that therefore care, and I'm not telling my regional council colleagues to anything, but given they're going to be working through and making decisions, one just needs to exercise care in terms of any opinions expressed in the discussion today. What I felt would be helpful, Phil, in terms of as you take us through the report, is to briefly outline the process that the council has gone through in terms of that regional rating. Because I think, it would be helpful for me as chair, but I think just as a reminder in terms of it just hasn't happened yesterday, there has been quite a process that's been embarked upon in terms of that. So if you could pick that up as part of your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so when we get to that item, we'll definitely take you through that process. We have Brian, Manager of Transport Policy and Programmes, supported by Phil Hazelden from Hamilton City Council to present the report this morning. I proposed, Chair, that we go through it section by section to allow discussion on each item.
Okay, no, thank you. Welcome, Brian. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take the report as has been read, but as Phil mentioned, we'll go through section by section and allow time for conversation on the way through. The first item on the report there is the Regional Public Transport Plan and a revised approach that we're looking to adopt for our RPTP. The RPTP was originally planned to be developed at the moment. We've had a review of that document and we still consider it to be fit for purpose, and we are looking to delay the development of the RPTP later in 2026. There's a couple of things with that. Is it actually allows us to best integrate the work that we are doing, the substantial work that we are doing on the bus contract renewals program, and pick that up into a new RPTP. And it will also allow the development of that RPTP to be within the context of a single committee. So as opposed to starting it now and then having the further conversations into the next committee. The other opportunity I think with that is that it will enable also some really strong linkages to be developed in relation to the RLTP, which is the Regional Land Transport Plan, which will be developed also within 2026, we believe. So I'll just pause there. If there's any comments around that. This is an important document for council and for transport planning, public transport planning. Like we say, we believe that the current document is still really strong, really fit for purpose, and we're looking to delay the implementation into next year.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Any comments or questions of Brian on that matter? No. Move on to the next item.
Thank you, Chair. The next item is a simplification of regional rating for public transport, and I just wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about the process that we've gone through in relation to that piece of work. It's been a substantial piece of work for WRC to go through in conjunction with our territorial authority partners. So I guess the process we've gone through a series of engagements with our councillors back some time ago, and it was determined that there were some options that we wanted to look at in terms of going out to territorial authorities to have that conversation through a pre-engagement process. We've done that. We've gone out and we've met with 11 district councils and Hamilton City Council across the region over a 2-month period in late last year, between October and November. Those consultations have been really genuine engagements with councils. We had our chair come to the majority of those. We had strong representation at those conversations with our councillors, particularly the local councillors for those particular parts of the regions were also involved in those conversations. They were, to my viewing, I went to all of those pre-engagements. They were very robust and very genuine conversations about how we rate for public transport across the region. And there were some really engaged conversations that we had around that. And I think two that stand out in my mind would be the TCDC engagement, which was quite robust and valuable, as was our conversation with Hamilton City Council, which was the last of those engagements that we went through. That also was a very robust and fulsome conversation about what we were talking about. Those engagements were largely with, I think for the majority of them, they were with full council representation. And so that's been quite positive. There were a couple that weren't. We had our engagement with Hamilton City Council. There was not the full council involved in those conversations, but there were some really key councillors involved in that. We'd had them listed down here, but I just can't find it at the moment. But so certainly that was a really good conversation. Yes, so we had Councillor Louise Hutt, Councillor Maxine Van Oosten, Councillor Angela O'Leary, Councillor Pike, Councillor Ewan Wilson, Councillor Tim McIndoe. So while it's not the full council, there was a substantial representation there and a really good conversation ensued. And from Waikato Regional Council, we had Chair Pamela Story, Councillor Angela Strange, Councillor Clarkson, Councillor Chris Hughes, and Councillor Jen Nicol in that conversation. In terms of further engagement, I think just to mention, this has been a regular item on our regional advisory group meetings. So at staff level, there have been really strong engagement at that level. And further to that, just to say that we did go to the meeting of this group on Friday the 21st of February, again via the director's report, and we did offer to work with local councils in terms of any further information that councils wanted. We did have one further engagement out of that where we met with Waikato District Council, Councillor Eugene Patterson and staff, and worked through some issues with them. So as has been mentioned, we've also had a public survey we put out as well. So just to gain further views from the public around all of this particular process. That's resulted in Waikato Regional Council agreeing to go out and consult on two options. So we've elected to go for what we call the weighted distribution model in terms of the PT rating scheme. And with two options in there, and the options we were consulting on was where the Hamilton City Council was rated via a per property rate, so every property pays the same across Hamilton City Council, or whether we use a capital value based approach for applying that rate, and that's the question that we're asking in the consultation, and that's what we will be deliberating on at Waikato Regional Council in the near future. So at the time, I think we've had, so at the moment we've had well over 100 submissions on the PT rating scheme, and we've prepared an analysis of those, and those reports have been pushed up the line and will go to council. So the outcomes of the deliberations, which will be held between the 19th and the 22nd of May, will be reported back to our next meeting of this group. But I've sort of rattled through there the process. It has been a really comprehensive process. A really engaging process and a really genuine process, I would suggest as well. A lot of feedback. A lot of the feedback was around what are you getting for the rate? And that's a separate conversation, which I'll also touch on, I think, later in this report. This is really about having a rating scheme which removes a bunch of hurdles that get in the way of the application and the development of the very best public transport system that we can have in the Waikato. But I'll pause there and seek feedback.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Some very helpful background and reminder of the process that has been gone through. So I'll open it up for any questions or comments. Eugene, you poised there.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I think we've asked those questions many times. I just want to support what you've just been saying, Brian, around the collaboration and working forward to with councils, and I'm speaking on behalf of Waikato District. Been very forthcoming. They come and presented to the Chamber to full council, but also working with the Shell and our teams on progressing that and just getting clarity for our communities on what this means for them. And so yeah, I just want to acknowledge very good work. It's been the whole process has been very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Eugene. Any other comments or questions? Angela O.
Thank you, Bill W. Look, yeah, just a comment, I guess. Thank you for the coming to us. We had on the 13th of November, unfortunately, only half of our elected members were able to attend, but it was a really robust presentation from WRC representatives and Chair Pam, and we gave a variety of views actually. And when I looked back on my notes, we were sort of a little bit split, which is not unusual in the political landscape in terms of a flat fee or CV. So thank you for that, and also look forward to presenting on Monday our HCC submission. So thank you.
Thank you. It's nothing further. No. Okay. Next one. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. The next item is around the setting of speed limits and the advocacy and submissions work that we've been carrying out. So you'd be aware that the new land transport rule setting of speed limits came into effect on the 30th of October last year, and that articulates how road controlling authorities can propose, consult and set speed limits. But it also requires the reversals of speed limits that had been lowered after 1 January 2020 on both state highways and local roads. So the agency, NZTA, have been working to implement that rule, and so there has been a process where some of the speed limits that on state highways were designated to be auto-reversed, and others were put up for consultation. So we have been submitting on the ones that were available for consultation through the RTC. And we've also been advocating for the opportunity to actually consult on other speed limits as well. And so the NZTA has now provided new consultation on opportunities on some of those state highways, including State Highway 1C, State Highway 26, Morrinsville Road, and the like, and we will be making submissions on those. So this has been a bit of a challenging process, I think, from a road safety perspective, because we do know that increases in average travel speed do have poorer road safety outcomes and poorer amenity outcomes for some of the locations that we're talking about, and we've been advocating strongly on that basis. But again, look, I'll pause there. It's been an ongoing piece of work that we've been working on, and we have been submitting through the RTC. And I think that that work in advocacy is certainly valuable.
Any questions or comments on that? Angela?
Yeah, just a comment really. Yeah, thank you, Brian, for your work on this, and the team as well. Yeah, I've read the draft submission from RTC, and yeah, there's some really good points in there, advocating, as you say, for safer speeds, especially around schools in that area and safe travel for our vulnerable people within our community. So yeah, thank you for your advocacy on that as well.
Thank you. There's nothing further. Next one, thanks.
So I'll pass over to my Hamilton City colleague, Phil Hazelden, to cover the next item.
Oh,
Thank you. So yeah, not a biggie here, but one I think is worth noting, because it's really the first time Future Proof has sort of touched base with the Infrastructure Commission. So as you're aware, all our infrastructure managers, all our delivery managers are already engaging with the Infrastructure Commission with our business as usual. So there's a huge database of projects that the Infrastructure Commission are aware of. Just before Christmas, they asked for applications around some of the higher profile projects, projects of like a national significance that we considered to be anyway. Not really linked to a pool of money, but really linked to a sort of a profile, a status that would go through quite a severe review and with a panel of experts. So the first round, the Future Proof, obviously working with the partner council, submitted on the Southern Wastewater Treatment Plant, and there are actually some emails from the Commission yesterday saying that they have got a result and they'll be engaging with council in the next couple of weeks. The same with the Hamilton Eastern Transport Corridor. Now in the second round of submissions, we tried to work with the partners and we came up just with the one, and that was related to the rapid transit and the corridor elements of the MSP program. So you remember I reported back on our work program a few sessions ago, and we talked about that emphasis we've got on the corridors for PT and freight and just that transition over the next 30 years towards that more sort of sustainable corridor focus. So we've kind of submitted that, and The applications really need a very strong evidence base. They're not really going to be looked at unless they've got a big business case behind them, which is why the wastewater treatment plant and the MSP work is such a prime candidate. So all our work related to the BRT, the freight, everything we've done since the 2022 business case, we gave to the Commission for their scrutiny, and they're going to challenge us in September. We'll probably get a call and a bit of a Q&A. So I think it's just worth highlighting because, you know, we're really trying to raise the profile of what we're doing at a program level. That's probably it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Any questions of Phil on that? No, there are not. Thank you. Brian.
Thanks, Chair. The next item is the National Ticketing System Solution and the rollout in the Waikato. So the NTS will be called Motu Move, and the Waikato rollout has been sort of pushed back. So this is a piece of work that we're doing in conjunction with NZTA, and each of the 13 public transport authorities across the country will be adopting the same system to provide a range of easy-to-use payment methods for all public transport. To facilitate this, which is quite an intensive piece of work for us, like I said, the rollout is now likely to occur in late 2026. We will be, I think, the last of the PTAs to have it rolled out, so hopefully all of the issues will have been resolved by then, and we should be the beneficiary of that good work. But with a program of the size and the complexity of that, we've taken the move to actually appoint an NTS program manager. And that program manager is Kimberly Bell from my team. Kimberly will have oversight of the rollout of NTS in the Waikato and will report progress back to this committee. So yeah, a large and important piece of work, really impactful in terms of our customers on public transport. And we're planning to take advantage of that and do that in the very best way that we possibly can.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Angela, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I guess for us within the Waikato, this is a little bit disappointing that it's been pushed out again, but understand, as you say, that it is quite a big project. With the upside of us learning from others who go first. Just wanting to understand the communication plan. I know that at the last couple of meetings we've touched on information that's out there to not keep your balances high on your B card because we're transitioning to this. Now that it's been delayed again, could you just outline the communication plan with those updated timelines, please?
Phil.
So the National Ticketing Solution Governance Group is still working through a reconfirmation of that program, and we don't have a set date yet. One action they have understood and are developing is an updated set of national communications on this topic, and balances, refunds, and the process of transition are going to be parts of that communication package when it comes through. We'll be able to take that information and add our regional flavour to it so that it reflects the way that we operate our networks across this region. But it's very clear that there will be plenty of time for people to know that the transition is occurring and to run balances down, and we'll be providing very significant advance communications to all passengers across the region well in advance of any change.
Anything else? No? Next one, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. The next item deals with bus contract renewals, and the bus contract renewals program is a significant program for Waikato Regional Council, and we are advancing its progress on supporting the re-tendering of our bus contracts. So just to be clear, a workshop has been scheduled with the committee on the 5th of May 2025 to cover future bus provisions for public transport, units 1 to 5, as well as Thames Coromandel. So that is a significant piece of work that we've been going through, working with particularly with Hamilton City Council, around what the future bus provision might look like and how that might work, but also with our regional connections as well, making sure that's the best way that we can run our bus networks within the region. To support that, there are sort of three sort of key pieces of work, and I'll just touch on each of those three, and they're outlined in the report. One is the unit structure review, and so this is a technical piece of work, and the first workshop on that piece was conducted on the 10th of April, and I guess it's looking at around how we set up our bus contracts within the region in terms of what are each individual components or each individual section that we go out to market on, and we can live and die in terms of how well those unit structures are set up. So that's a piece of work that's ongoing. It's quite important for our bus contract renewals and our contracting. And a secondary workshop will be held to determine the optimum unit structure for regional delivery. So we've sort of been working through both of those processes to inform the tender documentation that we put out. So hopefully that's clear. I haven't confused things. What we're talking about here is the structure of our contracts for the provision of bus services across the Waikato, whether what we currently have is appropriate or whether that needs to be tweaked or adjusted or changed up. The second item I've got there is the fare review policy, and that's really important because to have the optimum configuration of fares, I think is really important for both for our customers but also for the viability of the service. This also is a technical piece of work that will require the application of specialist knowledge, and we have sought consultancy support for this work, and we're likely to award this work shortly. So this work will also this work output will also inform the procurement strategy and be reflected in the updated RPTP that I mentioned earlier. And again, a really crucial component. The third item I've got there in the report is the zero emission bus roadmap and technical implementation plan. We're planning to have a paper to come to the 15th of August meeting of this committee. So there's two pieces of work there. One is the roadmap, what's our view, I guess, or the vision for zero emission buses in the region moving forward. And the technical implementation plan is really about how we implement that. So we have awarded a piece of work for the technical implementation plan to Jacobs, and work on that is continuing at pace. And the ZEB roadmap is also a piece of work that we're going, as I said, we're coming back to committee on that. So a full paper covering this work will be prepared and separately included in the August meeting of this committee. So there's a lot of work happening in the bus contract renewal process. So there's three key pieces of work, but I think the sort of key conversation that we've had in recent times has been, and it's been really encouraging, I think, in terms of the officer level conversations between Waikato Regional Council and Hamilton City Council in working to determine what is the best configuration of bus services in the short, medium and longer term for Hamilton City. So that's been an important piece of work, but also the work we've done with our regional colleagues in trying to link up those connector type services from out-of-lying towns. But look, I'll stop the commentary from me there, and I'll open up to any questions.
Thank you. Liz?
Look, thank you. I think the workshop that we had recently was very helpful. But I'd also like to thank the Regional Council. We had a visit earlier this week to talk through this very issue. And of course, with Waipa, Cambridge and Te Awamutu, our major towns, we've seen a great increase of services. We're electrified, we've got our contracts in order. So I think we're sitting pretty good. However, as many of you will know, we're still really passionate about increasing some of the services to our Waipa residents, and the internal bus service that hopefully we could potentially provide in the future is still something really top of mind. So this is, I guess, a good example is My Way in Timaru. And recently a report has come out that particular on-demand service for Timaru, which is a similar sized town to Cambridge, incidentally, is now going to be confirmed. So it's an on-demand service that essentially operates within a town and provides sort of a simple A to B, getting to your library, getting to your pool, swimming pool, getting to schools as well. So that's now been confirmed by the regional council down there. So we did highlight that to regional council staff at our workshop earlier this week, and hopeful that a business case can now be would like to proceed with something. I guess our staff at Waipa District Council and Regional Council are talking about the potential for this, and just really like to continue to support that around this table, where whatever opportunity I can.
Thank you. Angela S.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just would like to echo Liz's points. Liz has been a huge advocate alongside Roger as well for PT within your communities in the Waipa, and yeah, something like My Way or the Flex model that we have up here would be a possible solution. Brian, I had a question on the zero emission bus roadmap. The ZEB and the TIP. You've laid out our aspirations as well, but the report is just a little bit silent on the legislation for that zero emission buses and the procurement of diesel buses. So could you just balance it up with our aspirations with what we legally are required to do as well?
Phil.
Our regional public transport plan has an aspiration of operating a net neutral carbon transport fleet between now and 2050, and that's our policy position. Nationally, the second emissions reduction plan has been released, and that does not change the targets that were set some years ago, that from June this year, diesel buses cannot be imported into the country. And from 2035, all public transport fleets need to be zero emission. So that's the national framework that we're operating within with this change.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, I think it's really important that we hold both at the same time, the legislation as well as our aspirations, to show that they do line up as well. So yeah, thanks for the work that has been awarded to Jacobs, and yeah, look forward to where it's going. So thank you.
Nothing further. Next topic. Thanks. Brian.
Thank you, Chair. The next topic deals with bikes on buses. So as was previously reported to this committee, there was an industry alert that was issued by NZTA in January this year, and bike racks on regional buses in the Waikato had been disabled for use for the use of transporting bicycles until those issues could be resolved. Committee might be aware also that other regions around the country have already sought to reintroduce bike racks to PT services, and there's an article that's linked into this report as well. We have been working with our regional operators to resolve any outstanding safety issues, and my understanding is that it might be covered in the operations report later in this meeting as well. But we're looking to restore those services in Hamilton very shortly, and then a bit beyond that at Tokoroa and Taupo. And that will be accompanied with the relevant communications pieces around that as well.
Sorry, just to add to that, that reintroduction went live on the 12th of May for the whole region, other than some services around the Taupo and Turangi area, and that work is underway, which will see those racks re-enabled from, I think, very early June.
Angela Rowe.
Oh, you saw me, didn't you, Bill W? Just a very quick question. So that's great news. How many, have we just put back the bike racks on the buses, on the bus routes that sort of acquired them, or because they're not on all buses for Hamilton, are they?
No. So this is the reintroduction of racks that are on the buses as at today. The conversation about expanding the provision of those onto new buses will be part of the contract discussions that we've touched
Right.
on just previously.
Okay, and all safety issues, because it was something to do with the lights and on the buses and all sorts of things like that, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
The agency issued a safety notice around
Yeah.
lighting, and so the issue has been adjusting the racks to ensure that the buses achieve the NZTA's lighting requirements. So it's been an issue that has been negotiated between the operators and the agency. We have an outside role in that, but we've been supporting through that process.
Great news, thank you.
There's nothing further. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. Moving on to the next item, which is the bus driver fund. You may be aware that there was an incident on an Auckland Transport bus a little while back, which resulted in a stabbing. And from that, through budget 2024, the government allocated $15 million of Crown funding over 2 years to improve the working environments of bus drivers. And that's also to support things like recruitment and retention, and really deals with, I think, the health and safety obligations that we have with bus drivers. So the fund is an opportunity for PTAs to actually identify and deliver initiatives to improve bus driver safety and working environments. So staff, we've indicated to NZTA there's an expression of interest for 2 potential proposals within the Waikato region. The first was for an additional safety lighting around selected bus shelters in Hamilton City, as well as an additional in-transit toilet facilities at key locations. And the second was for a potential lease agreement between the South Waikato District Council and Transit for a refurbishment of bus driver toilet and rest facilities in Tokoroa. So applications for the fund have closed, and the success for those applications will be notified following the assessment, and the outcome of the Waikato applications will be reported back to this committee. So opportunity, I suppose, there to access funding from NZTA for what would be important safety applications.
Questions or comments? No? Thank you.
Chair. The next item on the agenda deals with the NZTA Public Transport Procurement Survey, and that was attached to this report for members to peruse. The intent, I guess NZTA was circulating the survey to seek input on some proposed updates to national policies and guidelines for the procurement of public transport buses and the like, to support better value for money and long-term cost effectiveness. Like I said, the attachment there is the Waikato response to that, and that was made on the 26th of February 2025. And so that's there for information and comment and feedback from members of this committee.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that survey? No? So I presume, Phil, you're presenting on the Hamilton Southern Links update.
Yes, me again.
Thank you.
So I guess just for context, this is some notes written by the Transport Working Group rather than NZTA themselves. Obviously, they are in a very accelerated and busy process trying to finalise the investment case to go to their own board. Essentially, the notes here really cover 2-3 sort of areas. One is, I guess, the ongoing work that we're doing and the focus around developing what we're calling a network operating plan, which does incorporate more traditional revocation conversations. And also there's a few paragraphs around probably a heads up for, post-elections around some conversations, some decisions, some alignment around funding and LTP conversations related to how we actually fund that network operating plan as soon as assuming that there is actually something to support. And support, I mean, the network operating plan supports the Hamilton Southern Links in whatever form and function NZTA decide to fund, if anything. So I think in terms of the funding side, I think this is something the committee has discussed before or highlighted in workshops. I think that's right, Phil, isn't it? It really does link up to the, I think, consistent approach that we probably tried to do for the current LTP, but it was very, very hard with timing and obviously numbers of partners, to support, well, I guess two elements really. One is to support whatever Southern Links looks like, because, and what I mean by that is the investment case is narrow, particularly from the original designation. And I think we've all, been briefed by our own council officers around that. But if we're really going to maximise that investment from central government, we are going to need to do other things. And some of those other things are potentially going to divert funding from the MSP programme, to put it very bluntly, if that's the way, political decision making occurs. So I think what the paragraphs here are just trying to highlight is the need for that consistent approach on not only what's in that network operating plan. So that could be, the north-south route through Peacocks. It could be upgrades to Cobham Bridge. Or from a MSP sense, it could be, bus priority improvements on State Highway 3, those sorts of things. So I think the challenge for us, probably after the elections with the new councils and the new structures that you guys are talking about right now, is just to have this conversation well in advance. Interrogate us around what's falling out of the network operating plan, which will essentially be a series of sequence projects, and pick out those ones and hopefully maybe prioritise those ones that are supportive of our MSP programme. Obviously, we'll be recommending what they are, and I guess throw it into the mix of future funding decisions, particularly for LTP 2027. Would that be fair, Phil? Yeah. And the other bits are really around, again, the network operating plan is something in development. It is being done with NZTA via the Transport Working Group. So that's all your staff are involved in that. And everyone's actually been brilliant in terms of your staff members feeding into that process. And the revocation is really just obviously the more traditional revocation conversations, which NZTA are leading. It has stalled a bit, to be honest, but they're still on the to-do list prior to the investment case being signed off, and that's basically, implications about future state highway ownership and asset management and those sorts of things. I'll leave it there.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Just before I open it up, I just wanted to make the comment, particularly for those members who are on the Future Proof Implementation Committee, because at the next meeting, there will be a report on this very issue of a network plan from Robert. So this is a good intro into that discussion and report for the June FPIC meeting. Chair Pamela.
Kia ora. Hey, thank you for that that commentary. Just wondering if our concern is around the availability of support. What are our avenues? What are this committee's avenues? What are our council's avenues to advocate for continued support in this? Is there a joined up approach? Are we doing this individually? What's the suggestion?
A joined up approach, absolutely. I think we need to, well, my opinion would be we need to wear all our hats, don't we? Where we would be, I guess, shooting ourselves in the foot if we didn't support whatever falls out of the investment case process in terms of what a future Hamilton Southern Links is going to look like and how it's sequenced. So it's just good practice to do some joined up planning. To make sure that we do support that investment, because it will offer benefits beyond the MSP program. We can't always, bang the drum for MSP as much as I'd like to. But at the same time, we should be banging the MSP drum where we're going to get the bang for our buck. And I think there are going to be, again, if you go back to the investment objectives from the MSP work, which again is consistent with the Waipa's transport strategy, Hamilton's transport strategy, and the GPS, contrary to popular opinion, there is still a strong alignment there. We need to be focusing on those areas, and there will be projects. And again, the Ohopa Road is a State Highway 3 is a great example of where, why not on day one when that Southern Links opens, that road becomes active mode and a bus prioritised corridor, because you're going to be putting all that traffic on another link. That's just good transport planning. So it's those sorts of opportunities and aligning with the sequencing of whatever happens with Southern Links is what the network operating plan is going to cover. And we will need to obviously get your buy-in for the network operating plan. I think that's the intention because it's a future-proof document. And make sure that it's aligned and funded within our own individual LTPs would be my, off the top of my head, response to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the point I'm making is that it's all well and good to for councils to do their individual plannings and planning, and it's great that we have our joined up planning as well. What I'm looking for is some really clear messaging. I mean, we're all politicians in this room. And so it's about how do we have clear access to a series of bullet points that allow us, when we happen to be in the right circumstances, to reinforce consistent messaging about how we are working collectively together, but how central government could support our decision making, and how we can be consistent in that. So that's the ask.
And just adding to that, although I haven't seen the report yet, I suspect as part of the discussion at the June FPIC will be around that, Chair Pamela, and picking up Phil's point, it is a future-proof initiative. So it's about having all of the partners involved, not just in its development, but in terms of the leadership and advocacy required to give effect of what comes out of it. Because the planning bit is probably the more, and this is no criticism, is the more straightforward part. It's how it's then executed with the funding and having that aligned across all of the partners and not just local government partners. So yeah, there are a few challenges as we work through that. Any further questions or comments? Hey. Oh, anything you'd like to? Oh, sorry. Yes. Yep. You doing that?
Just to
Brian's doing
just to
that.
close out, Chair, just quickly, just as a reminder, I suppose, that following this meeting, there's only one additional meeting of this committee, and that's on the 15th of August, 2025. So at this meeting, we're anticipating that we will be providing, progress on the ZEB development, including the roadmap and the chip, and we'll also be providing feedback from the output we're having of our workshop on the same. Any additional submissions, sector feedback and updates will also be included, but I guess this is an opportunity, I think, to influence that agenda for the last meeting, given it's the last one that we'll have.
Okay, no, thank you. There will be one of the items on the agenda will also be advice to partners and incoming councils in terms of, and I think it was touched on earlier on, in terms of the structure, obviously in terms of, and arrangements around this subcommittee, but also related to that is in terms of future-proof structures going and arrangements going forward. What I was going to raise is just for staff is ensuring, I just suspect, given it's the last meeting of the triennium, making sure there is adequate time for whatever is on the agenda. In last meetings, we seem to have a fair bit. So I just wanted to make that that point. Anything you'd like to add, Phil?
Perhaps the only reflection would be that I think there was a very good conversation about that topic at the workshop that we had on the 5th of May. So there was lots of information from that discussion which will form the basis of that report. So thank you again for participating in that discussion.
Okay, any other questions or comments people would like to make before we move to receipt of it? Don't appear to be any. So up on your screen and on agenda page 25, the resolution recommendation to receive the report. I can have a mover and seconder for that. Thanks, Eugene. Thanks, Angela O. If there's nothing further, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And thank you, Brian and Phil, in terms of presenting this morning. Really helpful. So we'll move to the next item. And after this item, we'll take a short morning tea break. So this is the Te Huia Sunday service. So, okay. Welcome, Joe. So who's kicking off? Joe.
Kia ora koutou, katoa. Through the chair, I'd like to take the Te Huia Sunday Service report as read, and I'm open for questions.
Okay. Any questions in terms of the report, including the recommendations, which the introduction of a Sunday service be supported? And that recommendation would go to the council. Eugene.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thanks, Joe, for the report. Good report. I think that the Te Huia has been something that there's more and more support starting to happen for the Te Huia. We have got timeframes to work with and requirements to do that. The introduction of a Sunday service that can be kept within current funding framework is a great step forward, and very much supportive. And Waikato District's view is very supportive of the Te Huia service, and we need to see how we can increase those services and get more bums on seats and increase the popularity of it. And having a Sunday service would start to bring those efficiencies and those gains to the service. So very much supportive. Thanks for the report. Good update, and it's also a good piece there for myself and that to be able to share that with my colleagues at Waikato District Council and what's going forward for them.
Okay, right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No. Angela, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo Councillor Patterson's support of Te Huia and the Sunday service moving forward. As someone who's been involved since last triennium on getting Te Huia up and running, one consistent message that we've heard from our passengers and wider community, and perhaps those who haven't yet taken the opportunity to go on to Huia, is that a Sunday service would really unlock so much potential within the Waikato region and the Auckland region as well. So having this paper come to us in order for us to recommend to our regional council is a really positive step. So I appreciate the huge amount of work that has gone on in the background from staff to get it to this stage. So we appreciate your work. Thank you. And yeah, just really wanted to highlight, what this Sunday service could potentially unlock with, the opportunity for mini breaks, in both regions, Waikato and Auckland, and all the economic benefit that Sunday trips would enable commuters, uni students to return on a Sunday to prepare for the week ahead, allowing people to access housing within the Waikato but still have employment within Auckland as well, is another fantastic economic benefit, as well as those who are unable to take the train. It releases that road space as well for their commuting journeys to make it more efficient and economically viable. So keeping an open mind, of course, but you're really excited about this paper. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Anything online?
I'll comment.
Angela.
Or
Oh,
do you want to, do you do debate, or do you want to just do you want to have a comment now? Because
No.
either way.
comment now. Yes.
Okay, because this will feel like a debate. Look, I just want to say I'm so excited about this service, and the city is as well, and the council is. It's just such the most obvious step that's been a hugely successful game changer for passenger transport for the region, and I think we sort of tend to forget that a little bit. It has been a game changer despite the challenges that we've faced, right? Funding, change of government, the pandemic, all of those things. This feels like that final one piece in the cog, until we decide what other pieces and other cogs we want to do. This is just that natural step. One of the other things I want to highlight is how responsive those that have been much more deeply involved than I have over the years in terms of responding to the public. They're the ones that drove extra services right along the way, and they're the ones through a survey that have driven this now Sunday service. So the people have spoken, and if I have a message for this government and any future governments, listen to the people, because this is what they want. I just want to acknowledge as I said, members around this table and in other our councils in the region that have had much more support and involvement in this from a city perspective. Thank you. We've recently won Homegrown, and that's just a tiny example of how amazing a service like this, and a Sunday service, people will be able to come. We'll allow some Aucklanders to visit our city. We'll be able to come down, get on the train, have a whole weekend here, and that's significant. And that party atmosphere that PT services like this are able to contribute to an event is what we're all about. Started off as a commuter service, it's still a commuter service, but it's so much more than that. The people have spoken, and I'm really thrilled. And thank you to the staff here and to your leadership as well, Chair Pamela, and your colleagues that have supported this, because this is a game changer and it's really exciting. So let's hope we get the space from Kiwi Rail and everything fits in. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Angela. Any further comments, questions? Phil, anything you want to add?
Perhaps just a comment that with your recommendation today, this paper goes back to our council at the end of May for a consideration of approval of the reserve funding that will enable this to occur. Through this process, we're continuing to work closely with the Auckland Timetable Committee, the National Timetable Committee, and Kiwi Rail as our operator to just land all of the details. So we're getting very, very close to that. And you've got some indicative information in this report that will all end up being confirmed at or before that May meeting. But that's the process that we'll be following from here.
Okay, it's nothing further. Looking for a mover and seconder. Okay, Angela S. Chair Pamela, anything further before I put that? Okay, there is nothing further. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So, and just reiterating Angela's comments in terms of well done to all those who have been involved over quite a long journey in terms of getting it established throughout review and now supporting the Sunday service. So yeah, really well done. At that note, I think we will break and reconvene at 10:45. So we'll have morning tea and then we'll come back, start with item 7.3.